What's another way that you could have told everybody that you came in fourth place? Oh, yeah, that I'm happy with thinking that I should have won. Oh, my God. But it's actually true. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the ShiftEQ.Podcast with Alan K. This episode is 3.20. Woulda, Coulda, Shoulda. The OCB Vegas Victory Classic 2023, and specifically this last weekend. But before we get into this, guys, if you gain anything out of this channel, anything that I'm saying in this episode or any of the previous episodes, do me a favor and like those episodes, comment on whatever it is that you either agree or disagree with. And then let's just kind of go from there. You know, I genuinely want to create content and have conversations that enable people to be better versions of themselves in lieu of their adversity. Okay, that's everything I have a vision for. And the way I get feedback is either A, through the comments, B, through DMs, AlanK.Health, or C, whatever videos gets as many likes, views, dislikes. It doesn't matter. You know, obviously, whatever gains the most eyes, in my opinion, is what the most common theme that people are really looking for. And although I'm not exactly a subject matter expert on anything, I never claimed to be, I just like to share my perspectives based off of my experiences. Now, with that being said, with this episode, this episode is going to encompass everything that we've been kind of talking up to this last entire season leading up until now, which is the OCB Vegas Victory Classic, the Natural Men's Physique Competition that I've literally spent the last year training for. And a little short history about that. This is my third competition. My very first competition was in November of 2021. And that was in lieu of a crazy transformation that saw me go from 170-ish pounds in March to 135 pounds competing on stage in November 2021, where I ran a marathon as well in the preceding October. And the purpose of that competition was just to challenge myself and seeing if I was actually good enough to step on stage, if I can actually gain the confidence and overcome all the negative images and thoughts that I had of my body and ultimately myself. Because what I have learned about me is that anytime I'm going through something or anytime that I'm treating my body in a certain way, like I'm neglecting it or drinking it to death, it's all because I'm going through something and because I think something really less of myself. And that's what I kind of learned throughout that entire process. I know that's a lot to uncover there in that little beginning, but when you start investing in yourself, and this is what I learned in that very first competition, what I learned is that by investing into myself, by going for a goal that's higher than I thought I could achieve for, I started holding myself to a higher standard, start showing up better for myself. And for me, this preceded other areas of my life, right? And that's what got me really addicted to the competition thing. Now, the second competition was in May of 2022. So 6 months after the first competition. And in my head, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to train as if I'm going to win. And I could do this in 6 months. And the reality is I was kind of being a little overzealous. I definitely needed to gain some size and everything, but I didn't know any better. I was just mentally high off my first competition, and I thought I could tackle the world. And I'll tell you, man, that confidence that you can gain over proving yourself wrong per se, like proving yourself, like all the negative talk like that, and I'm not good enough, I'm a this, and you actually prove yourself, yes you are. For me, that moment is just, that confidence is just overwhelming. And by the time I took this confidence and signed up for the second competition, which is the OCB Vegas Victory Classic 2022, I started training. I actually signed up for like 75 hard, did a couple of things. ASMR break. But quickly after I began training and I signed up for 75 hard, my dad got diagnosed with stage 3 lung cancer. And we didn't know if he was going to make it. So the entire second competition training cycle was dealing with if my dad was going to live or not. And it quickly went from I'm going to win, I'm going to do that, to man, I just need an outlet. I need something to get my mind off this. I need something to whatever. And although I was lifting and although I was working out and following plan, there's like zero enthusiasm, zero energy towards it because everything was stressing about my dad. And by the time I stepped up on stage, I was happy just to even have made it. And not only that, I was just exhausted, done for, wanted to spend more time with my family. And shortly after, now mind you, my dad survived. He's beaten it since, and it's kind of getting to remission, or it has gotten to remission. And we're grateful for that. Definitely got into better workout and eating habits so far, and then we'll see where this goes. But after the last competition, I decided to take the whole year off, like to give myself a whole off season, a whole everything, and get back into competing so that I can absolutely win. I ended up switching my coach, and the coach that I work with, David Milligan's Nonstop Fitness. He has a resume of getting people to the pro level, so I signed up with him, as well as just took everything I learned from the first two competitions and just apply it threefold in the training for this most recent competition. So I made meal prepping an absolute, without a doubt, like objective. It's happening no matter what. It's the first time I meal prepped and then took it on a flight and carried it over just so I'd have the exact food. I might have eaten out maybe like 8-9 times total in the time when we got into prep, maybe. And that's a maybe. I definitely cut out sugar the whole time, and that's why I freaking overloaded in sugar this last weekend, and I'll get into that here soon because there's a lot to uncover with how much I ate there. But I took this whole entire mindset and dedication towards winning. I started reading a lot of books, specifically Tim Grover, who's a trainer of Michael Jordan. He has a book, I believe it's called Resilience, or no, one of them is Winning. And the other one, God, it's not Resilience. But anyways, it's about the mindset of a winner, like the objectivity of getting shit done. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no room for whatever. And it was a really good direct approach. And what I liked about that as well is that that's the same approach that my coach had, David Milligan, very direct, very, this is what you're going to do. This is what gets it done. Either you don't or you do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And that in of itself just showed out. And what I brought to stage this last weekend was mind blowing. I mean, maybe 4 weeks prior, I had measured myself at like 6.7% body fat, like at 134 pounds. By the time I showed up to Vegas, I was like at 129 pounds and even leaner than I was at 134. Now, I didn't get to measure my body fat. I had zero energy. But this, it was crazy on what I looked like. And, we can say whatever we want about competition results and everything like that. Like, it's not just like a basketball game where it's all left out on the court. Like, this is your body, right? So even you might lose in a competition, but you can step out on regular public and just be fucking shredded. And I'll tell you, man, I just looked at myself like, what the fuck is this? Like, it looked like a science fair project to me based on what I started out as and what I look like get up by the time I got on the stage. I have a real event on my Instagram, Alan.Health. And it's kind of crazy, the transformation that that happens literally within like an 8-month span, as well as what happens when the mindset changes, when you make just other subtle behaviors more of a priority. And damn it, I said yeah, just it's crazy how much I learned about myself in the process and what I can achieve the more that I dedicate myself. And so we are going to talk about this with this episode, with this weekend. I'm going to go into the pre-show. I'm going to talk about the show day, and then I'm going to talk about the post-show. It's just better for me to talk about sequentially because it's that's just how I wrote it down. I wrote notes over the weekend, as well as give myself time to reflect on it, because I was definitely in a mood by the time I got done with the show. As the title says, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Like, I thought I should have won. I thought objectively I was better than everybody else. Now, I looked at a couple of photos just right now from the photographer, and I could see why that didn't really play in that way. But I'll also go into a lot of reasons why I think I still should have. And we'll talk about all the post-show stuff. This also to include like all the crap, not the crap, but all the stuff that I ate, the delicious goodness, as well as some of the things that we did at the poker table based off of the hunger and the sugar cravings and whatnot. All right. So pre-show, leading up into this, I was at a huge deficit, definitely at a huge deficit. I was at one point doing cardio 6 times in the week. I think that was like just for a week or two, but definitely a lot of working out, definitely a lot of carb depleting, as well as carb cycling, cardio. And it became so tedious and so strenuous at one point that I started losing enthusiasm with working out. For me, this reminded me of when I used to play poker for a living. And because I love poker, I love the game of it. I love the social aspect. It's just so much fun, so much strategy, the whole 9 yards. And winning money is obviously nice when you're winning, of course. But for me, when I went to go play poker for a living and started doing that because I thought I could do it, I started losing enthusiasm. I started losing my drive for being a better poker player because it wasn't fun anymore. This superseded into my play, my energy towards me playing. And sure enough, I became a losing player very, very quickly. I started having that same loss of enthusiasm for something that I love. And it came in the form of bodybuilding towards this time, like I said. And so I would definitely go to the gym, definitely in the last 2 weeks when I was going into this. My workouts weren't very challenging. Not exactly challenging. I wasn't putting very much effort into it. I was just going through the motions. And I feel like that kind of was felt out in my energy as well. Now, and also closer, when I was getting closer and closer to stage, the one thing that just became more and more apparent and more evident was the brain fog. And brain fog, for those of you guys have not experienced it or may not be aware of what it is, it's just kind of sitting around with, for me, it was like a massive like headache, sick feeling where I'm constantly irritated by things, as well as not hearing or being fully present. It's kind of like walking around with the fever without a temperature. And that's what it felt like mentally for the last 2 or 3 weeks leading up to the show. It's why I haven't been podcasting. It's why I haven't been creating too many things. It's because I spent so much time just trying to sleep it off or trying to get my mind off of it by taking walks. And it definitely was hard and challenging to just work, show up for conversations, no lie, my mom called me an asshole because I was being mean apparently, and I just was too hard to be around because I was just getting upset. I mean, when your own mom calls you an asshole, kind of lights things up for you, and I know that for me, it definitely took a toll. Friends I was being short with, I spent a lot of time indoors just because I just didn't want to carry that energy out. On the Subculture Live show, I actually called out for one of the shows like a couple of hours before, just because I knew that my energy would have dragged down the energy of the show. And I don't remember the last time that A, I didn't want to record podcasts, B, didn't want to be on a live show talking, and three, yeah, I know that's full narcissism. Whatever. Yeah, I like hearing myself on the radio sometimes, and sometimes I don't. It all depends on if I actually sound smart to myself or not. I mean, hopefully I will in this one. Who knows? But man, it was definitely a huge mental burden. Didn't like I said, didn't want to be on a show, didn't want to podcast, didn't want to create any reels or talk about anything or connect and reach out to people. Just was my own self, like introverted like hell. With that being said, me and my buddy Josh ended up going up to Vegas, and the first thing we ended up doing was the lie detector. So, a natty show, the OCB ones at least, you do a lie detector test right before or the day before. Um, and for me, every time they ask me questions, I don't know why, but mentally, because I can't take things seriously at times, when they ask me something like, "Oh, did you do PEDs?" Mentally, I would just be like, "All right, you didn't, Alan, but what if you did? What would your answer be? And why would you say?" And then all of a sudden, I would answer the question with that thought in mind. he had to stop, and he goes, "Look, I know you're not PEDs, and I know you're not lying, but I got to do this over again, and I got to set another baseline." So he ends up redoing the test, and he goes, "All right." Before he even started, he goes, "Hey, have you ever been with someone and then thought about cheating on them with someone else?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, of course I've thought about that." He's like, "All right, all right, for sure. Same question I'm going to ask you, but you need to say no." I'm like, "Oh, I see what you're doing there." So then he asked me that question. I said no. And then that set my new baseline. And then I've ended up passing the test. But of course, I have to stop the little inner stupid, immature voice that goes, "Oh, hey, Alan, maybe if you told him you did, but then you really didn't. But what happens if you thought you did? Then maybe everything." And I'm just like, "Dude, shut the fuck up." And I swear, this is the same thing for me when I was in the Navy and we did the sound test. So you got to make sure your eardrums aren't blown out, or you don't have this permanent screeching sound, which I'm pretty sure I do. A little tingling sound in your ear, tendonitis or whatever they call it. But anyways, they would do this sound test, and you would have these little beeps that would like go louder or more faint as the time would go, and you're supposed to press a button every single time you hear a sound. And for me, I would just be pushing that button religiously because I would tell myself I heard a sound, and the test would be over, and I would still be clicking buttons like, "Bro, stop. You need to stop. Like, the test is over." And this is like the same thing for me. And I don't know why in these tests, when everything's just so silent, you have to take everything so seriously. I'm just like, this is just so stupid. And then I just play stupid jokes in my head. Now with that, we did the fake tan afterwards, which it's interesting because for me, I just think I look like an Oompa Loompa with that color on. And I went to go play cards afterwards, and I'm just like, oh, I couldn't like really wash my hands whenever I use the bathroom because I don't want to wash off the thing. But then I also couldn't like touch anything because otherwise there. So I had like a long sleeve on. I had sweats on, but walking around in that tan and like not trying to touch anything is definitely a challenge in of itself. And that pretty much was it for show day. So pretty much we ended up showing up there. That was the day before show day. And so, like I said, the diet, I was still sticking to the diet leading up into it. I was like the carbs, we were starting to carb up though by this point. So at the beginning of the week, we would add like 80 grams of carbs in like the form of rice. And then the next day we'd add 80 more grams here, then have another piece of bread here. And it was just making my muscles bloat up, or not bloat up per se, but you're adding more water to your muscles. You're adding food introduced to your body. It's called carbing up. I'm not going to talk about way too much because I don't like talking about things I'm not well versed in, and I'm going to hold myself from that. And then, the diet, enthusiasm, menopause, whatever, lie detector. Yep. And then show day was the next day. All right, so lie detector, tan, and now we got the show day. Sorry. There. Maybe I still got that brain fog. Who knows? Okay, show day. Show day was very interesting. There's a lot of things that were kind of happening. For me, mindset wise, I was engaged. I was very focused. Got really good sleep the night before. Did a couple of practice poses, and I had like, dude, I'm winning this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, I got this for sure. Now, when we got there to the stage, first of all, it was really interesting because there's a bunch of homeless people out in the front, and you kind of had to walk around everyone to get through the front doors until you realize that the entrance is actually on the other side that there's no signs for. So that was troubling in the beginning. And then by the time we got back there, as a physique competitor, you wear board shorts. You're the only one that's wearing board shorts. It's funny because we naturally, as competitors and who is competing against each other, we size each other up. We're naturally kind of like walking by, like, oh, you're wearing shorts. Like, oh, you look great, man. You look great, man. And I'll tell you, man, I for sure thought objectively I looked better than everybody else, like without a doubt. I definitely was more shredded than everybody else. I definitely keep on saying definitely. I definitely felt I was objectively better than everybody without it. And this is no disrespect to anybody that was back there, right? This is not disrespectful to them at all. It's just I thought I had the best package of just what I brought to show, what I brought to stage. It was also cool too because there's a couple of those guys saw me on Instagram, like, yo, I saw you're shredded, holy crap, blah, 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 blah. Even when I was doing the vlog back there, which that vlog is coming out eventually, I'm trying to gather all the content together and then we're going to put it all together. But even backstage when I was vlogging, I was like, hey, I think I came in maybe top 3, maybe top 2. And then one of the guys, the guy ended up winning. He was like, no, you won this, man, without a doubt. I'm like, great. That's cool. That's great feedback. And I'm not trying to like take it to my ego or anything, but I was like, yeah, I think I did. I'm trying to be humble about it. But after, we did all the poses and we get called out, after the prejudging. So the prejudging, you go up there, pose against everybody else, and they keep posing against everybody else, and they kind of make their decision. By the time they called all the placing, they went 5th through 1st, and I was number 25. The very first number is it's like number 19 or something like that. It's another competitor, and then number 4, then like 4th place, 20, and I thought they're going to call another one because there's another 23 who I thought was going to place. Apparently it didn't, but like at 25, and I went there, I'm like, fuck. right? That's the first thought that popped in my head. And it's funny because everybody's like, oh, yeah, great, great, great. I'm like, yeah, man, fuck yeah. Y'all have no idea. My goal is to win. So I'll go up there. And I know I'm not trying to look unenthusiastic and I'm not trying to whatever, but I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait, if I came in fourth, who came in third, second, and first? Like, who the heck? And then I saw the third place, second place, first place. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade at those guys, but I'm like, there's what? Like, there's no way. I thought it was better than those guys. We get all back there, and I'm just like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm over this. Right? I definitely had a little temper tantrum. I was in my head about things because I definitely didn't see that coming. And as I'm leaving, I'm just like constantly in my head, like, man, let's just go eat somewhere. Let's go get my head out. I just could not stop thinking about the fact that like I was, in fourth place when I thought I was objectively in first. Like, even, like I said, the guy that won, he was just like, he swore that I went backstage and everything. That, I mean, again, that's something different. Now, post show, I started, the first place we ate at was Skinny Fats. And Skinny Fats, I just had like a regular burger, had a sweet potato fries and a cookie. Biting into that cookie for the first time, like first time having sugar. Oh my God, that was amazing. That was so blissful. We actually got it on video and it will be on the vlog on the ShiftEQ YouTube video, YouTube page, sorry. But it was just like, oh my God, sugar. I guess I could just feel my body just go nuts. Then obviously the burger and the fries. And halfway through the fries, I was automatically full. It did not matter. After that, we checked in the hotel, and in the hotel parking lot, there was a place called Serial Killers. If you see on my Instagram, these are all on my Instagram, by the way. They have like 130 different variety of cereals, and what they do is they either make milkshakes or ice cream sandwiches, and they have this huge challenge where you got to eat 5 pounds of everything assorted, and you got to eat it under an hour. And I thought about signing up for it, but as soon as I had a like cinnamon toast crunch milkshake, I realized like, dude, if I do that, I am never, as soon as I got done drinking that milkshake, I'm like, there's no way I can do that challenge. I'm already done with my sugar. Every single sugar craving got done with that shake, as well as the fact that I realized like having that much cereal, there's no way. Like, apparently you can't just pour all the milk in there and make it soggy. What you got to do is you could only take it out one bowl at a time, new milk, and then you got to eat it like this. So you got to like constantly have a fresh new bowl of cereal. And mind you, maybe like 2 weeks before prep, I thought I could do that. But if you think about like eating like Cap'n Crunch over and over again, like how much that would just tear the roof of your mouth off. And that's exactly, I think, what they do is they don't tell you you're going to do that. And you got to pay like $100, whatever. So I'd originally thought I was going to do this, but as soon as I had that shake and as soon as I realized that you'd be, cutting the crap out of your mouth, I'm like, yeah, I got more food to eat on this trip. And I definitely am not going to do it over cereal. But another thing that happened, as soon as I got that dopamine hit from the cereal, as soon as like it definitely lightened my mood. I really, really thought about it. I sat down and kind of pictured my entire journey, pictured where I started from. And I'll be honest, like it's nuts to go from thinking I was never good enough to take my shirt off or be on stage or speaking about physical health and achieving like a top 1% body, as they say, like a body that I've always wanted but never thought I could ever get. To go from breaking that limiting belief to going from where I was literally 2 years ago at this point to being disappointed that I didn't win a bodybuilding show, like objectively, yes, I didn't win and I came in fourth. Subjectively, based off of where I've been in my journey, that is a phenomenal freaking achievement, and regardless if I came in fourth overall to try to win my pro card, like I objectively look really fucking great. Like I have never looked this good before in my life. And I think there's so much to be said about that. And there's also a lot to be said about who doesn't say that another set of judges would say that I would look better than the other three. Or if there was another show that I could do that I can win in that and just get another set of eyes, because judging is very subjective. Judging is, it's not like, hey, objectively, you need to have this at this length and this at that width, and you have to be this ripped and that. There's so many different variations, because what me and my coach planned was for me to be as shredded as possible, to be the most shredded person on stage. And in my opinion, I was, because he had showed me a lineup of a similar show where the guy had won, and the guy that won was objectively more ripped than everybody else. So that was the approach that we were aiming for. And the fact that I came in fourth based off of what we had kind of gauged, like, there's room for opinion, room for a difference in everything. And if those guys are listening to this podcast, we can talk, but I would definitely guarantee that there's a lot of other lineups and everything that or a lot of other judges that would say otherwise. Now, here's where I'm at a crossroads with, and I'm debating on a couple of things, and I'm going to definitely give it some time, but I should definitely have an answer here soon. I told myself that if I finish in the top three, that I would, like second or third, didn't win, I would do one more, right? Just to see if I get another set of eyes, another set of judges, kind of everything what I just said earlier. But given that I was fourth, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning away from it. I can't deny where I was at 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, like just going through it mentally and emotionally. I mean, these these competitions are a challenge, man. It's not, now mind you, like I encourage everyone to do it because I want everyone to achieve getting on stage at least once. And another thing is, if you even get remotely close to being on stage and you fall short somewhere in the process, it's still probably a lot further ahead than you had ever gotten it if you had not tried at all, or gave yourself a very vague approach, such as like, oh, I'm just going to lose weight, I'm just going to gain abs. Like, no, get to a specific result. Getting competition ready is a very high specific result. But again, it's a very challenging process. It plays a lot with your mind, plays a lot with your emotions, plays a lot with your discipline and prioritization. But I feel like once you go through that process once and you understand like that engineering of yourself of how you get to a goal, the amount of learning you can do from there, although grand, there's a lot more to be learned, I think, if you apply those to a different field. For me, my biggest jump, or my first training thing where I felt like I really achieved something, was the first time I ran a half marathon. That was in June 2021. And I all I did was train for the half marathon so that I would train for the marathon that I was doing the following October. By the time I got done with my marathon, though, it wasn't as significant as when I passed my half marathon. And I believe that has to do with the fact that when I completed my half marathon, I was so high over completing that race, or the feeling of completing a race, that by the time I got to a marathon, my mind was like, oh, you already completed a race before. Like, what is this? By the time I stepped up on stage for the first time for my first OCB, the second time, by the time I got off stage, it paled in comparison to my first one. And for this last one, I told you I left with kind of like a temper tantrum. A tamper. What the fuck is a tamper? And therefore, it's like, for me, if I actually want to continue having love for bodybuilding, if I want to continue doing that, I think I got to get away from it for a little bit. I think for me that there's other trainings to be had, and the curiosity and what I'm actually leaning towards is doing MMA, training for MMA, and then doing like a fight in the future, right? Set myself up again, give myself a specific goal. If I lose in the fight, cool. If I fight in that and win in the fight, cool. Like, I'm not going to do that any more than that. But in my opinion, I'd much rather do something that I know is kind of challenging, do something that I know it's kind of scary. Because, one of the things I fear is getting my ass kicked and then being all over like World Star. That'd be a terrible way to go out. But I definitely want to. God, there's me with it. Definitely, I want to learn. I want to definitely grow as a person. And I find that when I put myself back into industries or challenges or ventures that I'm a complete noob in. Like, I did Taekwondo as a kid, but it's been a very long time since I did Taekwondo. And outside of a couple of skirmishes in the Navy, I really haven't gotten into too many fights since then. And so therefore, fighting against professional fighters or people that are trained is very challenging and very keep my ego in check. And there's nothing more I learned more from than getting my ego kicked in. Training for a marathon did that. Training for bodybuilding competitions did that. And although I can still learn about the process and maybe I could still do another show, the amount of growth that can be had for me as a person, I feel, can only be fine-tuned here and there in this respective sport. I think challenging myself now into a whole nother way of training would provide that space for me, like I said, to learn. Now, I was talking to my coach about this already. I do plan on still lifting and keeping myself bodybuilding ready. I want to get back to bodybuilding eventually. I love bodybuilding. I love getting myself ripped and getting myself as good looking on stage. I just definitely, God, that's me with a definitely word. Definitely. Fuck. I want to get myself to a point where I can just kind of venture off in different ways, right? I don't want to be like a pro MMA fighter. I just want to have that under my belt and say I could do it. I don't exactly want to be Chris Bum, but I definitely want to say, hey, I went to a high level in bodybuilding at one point. These are just tools I want to have under my belt because these are just things I want to experience. They always say like the jack of all trades is a master of none. But I'm so curious about so many different things, and the best way that I've ever learned is to experience it, to do it. I can read about it all day. I can try to watch videos, read captions, watch even more movies. But all that pales into comparison to experience. And that's kind of where I'm at. Where I'm talking about? Oh, all right. And here's the thing too for me. The goal is always to become the best version of me. The goal is to always listen to that inner voice and grow with it. And that inner voice for me is telling me, hey, you love bodybuilding. Oh my God, the personalities I've met, the opportunities of people I got to come in contact with, as well as the show that I'm on now. Sammy is my sister from another mister. She is fucking so cool. And her passion for what she does brings out the passion for me and my aspirations in my life. And I love having those kind of people around me, those people that just have such a love for the sport, for the industry, for whatever they're passionate about. And you feed off of that energy. Meeting her, meeting all the other amazing bodybuilders, because I'll tell you, man, when you make that dedication to put yourself through everything that I just told you, and you put yourself through it over and over and over and over again, just to compete and compete and compete in the sport, because you love that sport so much and you love me, like, you just learn so much about it. It's so great to watch. And the people, I now keep talking about the people, but that's literally how great the bodybuilding people are, because a lot of them went through some shit. A lot of them went through some shit. And like I told you, for me, what it was to, I used to swim with the shirt on as a kid because I got made fun of for having chi-chis. And that shit really fucking scarred me as a kid. It scarred me all the way until high school, until I started lifting weights and I realized I can actually form my body. And then I still kind of carried it because I didn't always take care of it. And by the time I got to 33, 34, I finally woke up to some shit. Now here I am, like, really confident in my body and overcoming one of my biggest fears, one of my biggest downfalls. And although I'm telling you guys this, there's a lot of other people in this industry that have gone through very similar shit. I'll tell you, the people that have extreme results, the people like the extreme billionaires, the extreme this, extreme that, extreme this, extremely excellent at their passion. I've seen it just where usually they just gone through something that made them pursue their passion. And it's just a very interesting to see where all of those stories come from, to hear where their drive comes from, and to also see that they're just like me, just have a different thought process and a different approach. And there's so much to be gained about listening into that. It's just amazing. Another thing that I learned is another big thing I learned about this entire process is how negatively programmed people are towards eating. Once you start prioritizing your sleep, you start prioritizing better carbohydrates, lean proteins, drinking more water, not eating too much sugar, and making working out a priority. That's called an exception. People question you. When you stop drinking, people get offended and treat you as if you got a disease. Like, oh, he's not drinking. It's so interesting to, once you start learning how you're supposed to eat, once you're learning how to prioritize performance. Like, too many people, in my opinion, just look at calories. Like, oh, I just need to get a deficit. I need to get at 1,900 calories. And they focus so much on 1,900 calories. But if you were to take that same energy and prioritize activity and eating around activity, as well as eating better around those activities and eating better overall, just making better choices, you would find yourself exponentially at a better physical, mental, and emotional status. And it just seems like no matter what, people don't want to do that. You're like, people are literally presented with, hey, you can better your life just by doing this, by eating better, working out, and prioritizing both, as well as sleeping. Oh, I can't. But then they have all these other problems that would otherwise be remedied with better eating, better sleeping, better working out, and better prioritization. And that's where I've kind of learned that sometimes, regardless of what people tell themselves of what they want, sometimes they really just don't want it. because otherwise their actions would say something different. Now, I'm not saying they're not capable of it, but it's very imperative for them, and if that's you, to find out what it's going to take you to drive you to that action, to know what you really want. You know, for me, I've had a lot of instances in my life that I feel that I'm constantly overcoming this chip on my shoulder, constantly overcoming, proving my own self wrong and therefore proving myself right. You know, I had a lot of self-doubt. It originally came from like just discrimination from other people and getting bullied, to I would just bully myself mentally, emotionally, stop denying myself. You know, I would just deny myself of anything that I really wanted because I told myself I was undeserving. That comes to women, that comes to money, that comes to relationships. It just does not stop. And by doing these things, by constantly checking in with myself, constantly working on it and everything, like bodybuilding really did that for me. It taught me what it was like to invest myself. It taught what if I just objectively did the work, what the hell would happen. And that's why I love fucking talking about it. That's why I love getting on these podcasts and talking about it. And I'll tell you, again, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I thought I should have won, but I'm very fucking grateful that I thought that I should have won. That sounds so fucking hilarious. That's the best way to take a loss, right? Say, I thought I should have won. What's another way that you could have told everybody that you came in fourth place? Oh, yeah, that I'm happy with thinking that I should have won. Oh, my God. But it's actually true. I can't thank my coach enough. I can't thank my coaches over the time enough. But I think that is where I'm headed to, is training for MMA and doing a fight. Now, obviously, I'll keep you guys in tune with that. I mean, I gave bodybuilding my all. I gave this last year my all. And this is where I placed. I don't love bodybuilding enough to say that I'm going to go pro and be the next Chris Bum. Like, that's not it. You know, I'm 36. I'm not getting any younger. I want to do a lot more things event wise. Like an MMA fight would be cool. Ironman is in the future. And recovering from something like this, like you do, the recovery days were challenging as well. And I'll be really honest with you. I know there's like a really negative view on PEDs and TRT and all that stuff, but from pure recovery alone and sleep, from what I heard that it can help. I don't know, like, don't quote me on that. It's just I heard it could definitely help with that. I can't help but to consider those kind of things, because for me, getting these goals, these physical goals, and achieving them mean way more to me than I don't know, with PEDs and TRT and everything. I've seen a lot of healthy people on it. Now, mind you, I know there's like, with regards to bodybuilding, like they're a negative view. They think that you just put a needle and all of a sudden like you just get results. Like, no, you got to maintain your diet. You still got to maintain good workout habits, and everything is just easier. For me, I don't need that. I've proved to myself naturally that I can get to that. For it, just purely recovery and sleep, I got to tell you, that's why I've considered it. Now, that's something I'll talk to my doctor about when I get to that. It is just, I told you, it's in the air. It's nothing that I'm doing yet. The fears that I have are, I heard once you go there, you can't go back. Like once you go to a needle, you can't ever go back to that. That kind of scares me. I won't say a cheap ass with my money, but I like, don't like spending money on something that I'm gonna have to oblige to permanently for the rest of my life. That thought goes away. Also, with that being said, I'm scared that, let's see, I get on it and all of a sudden they have a shortage or they get rid of it altogether. And now my hormones are just fucked up for as long as it is what it is. That kind of scares me. I can think of a couple more, but those are the two that kind of really stick out, or three that stick out more than anything else. Oh, and then the bad side effects like the acne, tempers, I told you, it really affected me when my mom told me I was an asshole. I don't know. And then I also want to be able to come back to OCB or some natural federation to bodybuild to say that I completed an MMA fight. I completed a Ironman, and then I went back to bodybuilding, and I still brought something great up on stage, right? That would be really cool. That would be really cool. But again, let's just stick to one thing at a time. I'm being overzealous with this MMA thing. I might be. I might just get punched in the face once, and I'm like, nope. Like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And I mean, that could be me. I mean, I'll be really, really honest with you. I appreciate my vanity, and if I get my nose broken and look ugly as hell, I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to go about that. Like, who knows? But anyway, guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed everything from here. I really do appreciate the support. And if you guys did get something from this episode, or there's something you want to talk about, comment, like, share the episode with anybody that you think could benefit for this. And subscribe to the channel. Find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Man, there's so many things. I gotta tell you, I still feel weird by saying follow me, like this. It kind of like, nah. Like if you want to, do it. If you don't want to, don't. I'm still gonna be doing this, But anyways, I love you guys all, and until next time, deuce.